Hello there, welcome to Wastelands Raceway. Today I'm going to be doing a Hot Wheels conversion. I'm going to be trying to do my version of the Mad Max cow car. It's not going to be a replica, it's not going to be a copy. It's going to be a homage to that car. The base casting that I'm using is the Watt 4.2 from Hot Wheels. Which I happen to think is quite a horrible looking casting actually, so I'm quite happy to be chopping it up and messing around with it.
I've already cut apart the inside. I want to use the seat, I don't want the engines sticking out, and I do kind of have a plan for the engines for another project anyway, so they can go. So we're now left with the car and the seat. So working with the main body, what I want to do is take out these side panels. So I'm just going to take some snips and cut away the side bits that I don't want. Right, so I'm going to be sticking the base and the top together. I'm going to use super glue, but I'm also going to test something that I have seen mentioned in videos on YouTube, is that bicarbonate soda can be used as an activator for super glue. So as I want this to be a nice strong bond, I'm going to put my super glue in there and be fairly generous with the glue. And let's put these together. Right, I'm going to squeeze these together now, and what I'm going to do, get some bicarbonate soda and chuck it up where the glue is. Let's just see what this does. It should cause the glue to go off instantly and create a strong bond that we shall see. Let's have a look. Well, that does seem to have worked. Well, there you go. Okay, right, the next thing I'm going to do is make use of my trusty coffee stirrers. Now, along the handle, I've got a couple of nice little ridges. What I'm going to do is cut that off and then just take the ridges snip them off, okay, to give me a rod. Now, there's a bunch that I've done, I've cut them to the right length, etc. Now I'm just going to gently bend them and try and get a flex in them. I want a sort of a bit of a radius, a bit of a bend, because what I'm planning to do is have a strap running from the side across the top, and the reason why will become apparent later. So there you go, we've got the basic framework in place now. We've got some sort of ribs in there. I'm going to be using pieces of torn up aluminium foil, my good old fashioned Kinky Weasel's magic aluminium foil solution. Pretty much solves everything. This stuff I'm using is from an old takeaway food container. So all you do is get your bits and use something flat. In this case I'm just using an off-cut plastic card. You just rub it until it goes flat and then you can use it. So that's what I've done with these bits. So let's start from this side. Just gonna stick it in place there to start with. I will be trimming it down afterwards. I just want to get some of this on here, and because it's supposed to be cowhides, I don't really want too many straight edges on the car where they're going to be meeting, just to make it look like it's a patchwork. What I'm hoping is that the ribs I've put on there will sort of show through and look like some kind of superstructure underneath that's been put in place to like a framework. We'll see how that works. Okay, well, let's just keep going, see how it works out. Okay, so I'm planning to use these big tractor wheels on the back, and it'd be sort of about there. So they've come off a toy tractor I got from the pound shop. Good for wheels, not bad for £1. So I'm going to be putting the rear wheel trim, the rear mudguards from that tractor on the car. Right, so here we are, so far so good. I've got the rear mudguards on, which I think will just add a little something. Don't quite know what, but something. So I'm going to carry on with sticking the foil over the car. I'll probably come back over some of the bits, but the second bit I'll just try and smooth it out a bit, make it look a bit more cow-like. But at the moment I'm just getting the basic form of the foil. Right, so there you've got it, the first coverage of foil. It doesn't look as neat as I hoped it would, but do you know what? I'm sure we can work with it. Already fashioned out of some pieces of my trusty coffee stirrer. Just an archway. I'm going to stick that in there because that's going to form the basis of some sort of canopy that's going to come from the back and up over the driver. Right, so there you go. So that's a bit of a frame, bit of a roll bar type thing going on in there. I have completed covering the car first coat with the aluminium foil, and I have to admit, whilst off camera I got a bit carried away and I didn't think to record it, so my apologies. But I have added an air scoop.
I made that from a pilchard tin, cut a small rectangle out of the lid and bent it into shape.
Additionally, I've also added in a tube here. Now that's a bit of an old Lumi band. I don't know if anyone remembers the Lumi bands, but it's just a piece of flexible plastic tube. I put a hole there, threaded it through, stuck it down. That was nice. A couple other bits here, this bit and this bit. That's just an old bit of flex, bit of electrical flex from something or other that I salvaged. I'm not sure, I remember what. I've also stuck a couple of sets of exhausts on the side. These are North Star military figures, implements of carnage from their pack, which is a nice little selection of stuff to have for modifying. What I have done, I've cut a couple of bits of the old coffee stirrer and stuck them on the top of the aluminium just to give it a flat plastic base for the pipes to stick onto. And also what I have done, I've just torn the foil a little bit just to show one of the ribs that I put in there, just to look like damage on the car when it's done. Taken 2 wheels off of a Hot Wheels Land Rover Discovery and stuck them in the front. Finally, I just snipped off a bit of sprue, filed it down to make it look a bit battered, and stuck it on the front as a bit of a rusty, rough old bumper. So that is the car so far. We've got all the basic shape in there. What I'm going to do now is put another coat on, just to try and smooth it out and make it look like it's more just covered in cowhide. So use double thickness of the aluminium foil this time, just because won't go so crinkly quite so easily. So that's the first bit. That's where I'm starting from. I'll do the rest of the car and check back with you once I've finished. So here it is, finished. I think the idea is that it's supposed to look like it's covered in random pieces of cowhide, which at the moment obviously it doesn't, because it looks like it's covered in random pieces of aluminium foil. But the next stage will be painting it, and when it's painted I'm hoping it will look like it's covered in random pieces of cowhide. Anyway, get it undercoated and painted next stage. So here he is, undercoated. I tried to do a zenithal highlight, but I'm not sure it's worked. But basically I sprayed in rusty brown first, and then came in from kind of the top, high angle, with one of the army painter primers. It's skeleton bone or something like that it's called. But so there you go, that's the basic colour, ready to go. See if I can make it look halfway decent with some paint on. Okay, so first of all I'm going to paint the underside. First coat, and I'm using Army Painter Oak Brown. Put it on as a fairly thin coat. Basically I'm just going to get everything that's going to be underneath where the cowhide type cover is on it. Just want to make it all dark brown because I'm going to make it rusty. About that. Now that I've done that, the next thing I'm going to do is apply a wash over it, and I'm using Army Painter Strong Tone, which I've nearly finished actually. I'll use a lot of that. It's a nice wash. So as with any wash, just chuck it on, spread it around, make sure that it doesn't pull excessively anywhere, because it's quite wet stuff. You got a fair amount of work time with it. So the idea of this is just hopefully it will just enhance the recesses, and B will just give it a general grubby and grimy look. There. That wash is finished. I'm now just going to leave it to dry. Now that will probably take somewhere in the region of about 15-20 minutes. Yeah, this is taking way longer to dry than it normally does. Hey ho. Okay, so I think it's pretty much dry now. So I'm going to start filling in the cowhide. So first of all I'm going to be using matte white, Army Painter matte white, which I've watered down, thinned it down a bit, and I'm going to be using a piece of sponge to apply the paint initially. Now I don't want it going on hugely thick, which is why I've diluted the paint, thinned it down. Let's just have a start. So there you go. So some of it's looking good. I quite like the way it's looking around sort of this area here and some of the other areas. Yeah, it'll do. It'll do. It is kind of mottled. It is off-white, which is, I guess, what I wanted. Next colour. Funny enough, Army Painter again. I'm going to use the matte black.
So I'm not thinning this down, I'm just using it straight out of the bottle, and it's going in quite nicely, but then Army Painter paints generally do. Just going to be dabbing it on in random patterns, big blobs like a cow. don't want any straight edges, so I'm just going to keep dabbing it on, just trying to get it to look right. Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Splodge. So that's the cowhide done. I'm actually quite pleased with it. I think it looks like cowhide, which obviously is what they're after. So I'm painting some of the metal bits now. So there you go, that's the next stage done now. It's the metallics. No, it's not. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, that's the next stage. It's done. I'm going to start working on the really rusty bits now. So that'll be things like the bumper, the bits of body work that are exposed underneath the cowhide, and this back lump here. I'm going to just paint that as rusty. So first of all, I'm just going to go back and re-establish that oak brown that I put down first of all. So that's the brown re-established, I think. So once that's dry or dry-ish, I'll go in with some lighter rusty colours, just to get it looking all ratty and wastelandy. Now, one colour that I use for this, and I love it, is the Army Painter Rust Effect paint. There you go. So I'm using Dry Rust, which is one of the Army Painter Effects paints. It's brilliant for rust. It's very, very matte. It's a sort of a rusty orange colour. Very, very matte. Usable straight out of the bottle if you want to. Or you can water it down and spread it around for rust staining type effects, which again is quite a nice effect, but I'm just gonna dab it on in places, really, just to try and do a sort of rusty contrast. I'm putting it on a little bit thin at the moment, just to try and get some subtleness to start with, and I go back in and get it much brighter in places to show the patchiness of the rust. Again, you can use all sorts of techniques. I'm going to use a bit of sponge here for the front bumper. Just a little bit of sponge. Dip all the rust on. I mean, sponging plenty on the back here. A fair bit of rust going on around there. It's looking all right, I think. I mean, as I said before, not really prizes for it. So now it is used some quite heavily diluted, and just sort of run it into some of the recesses on the wheels and places. Because although it's very wet and it goes on looking really shiny, it will dry very, very matte. And it's nice because it's almost like a wash. Well, it is like a wash, it settles in the recesses, which is where a lot of the weathering and the rust would settle. I'm also going to use this wash effect on the air intake. It's going to settle in the recesses again so that it looks rusty.
And I'm also going to continue this effect now on the rest of the metal tubing that's around the vehicle. Once the rust wash has dried sufficiently, I'm just going to go over those metal areas now and effectively dry brush stroke gently edge highlight the rusty metal areas. Just have a little bit of metal showing through, show where the rust will have scraped off or whatever, have a little bit of a glint, just gives it a little bit more life. So there you go, that's I think it looks alright, I don't think it looks too shabby at all, it'll do for me.
Okay, in terms of the last wash, I'm going to use soft tone. Again from Army Painter, funny enough, surprise surprise. It's just a lighter, softer brown kind of colour, and I'm going to water it down fairly heavily, fairly diluted, because I don't want to do too much staining. I literally just want it to run into the recesses and just dirty it up a little bit. Oops, camera. There. You're pushing the wash away from some of the areas that it's settled particularly heavily in. But you know what, I reckon I'm quite happy with that. That looks like an appropriately soiled cowskin covered car. Yeah, that'll do. That will do. The only thing to be left now is the tyres, but I've got to wait for the wash to dry before I do that. Okay, so I've done the wheels, or the tyres, off camera. I don't think it really have gained anything from seeing me painting some round things, matte black. It's fairly straightforward really. So, the only thing left now is I'm going to weather it. So, I'm not going to do too much fancy stuff. I'm going to be using desert yellow because it's a nice deserty, dusty colour, and I'm going to be dry brushing to start with. I'm guessing most people will know what dry brushing is all about. It's a pretty universally used technique. So, some paper towel, some paint, and a dry brush. This is a, funnily enough, Army Painter dry brush, especially designed for the job. But you can use pretty much any brush, really. Soft one. Makeup brushes are quite good. Cheap makeup brushes. You just load up the bristles with paint, and then get rid of the vast majority of the pigment off the brush, so it's literally a dry brush. I always test on the back of my hand. I'm getting some colour coming off, but not a lot. So just sort of rubbing and stippling. And the idea is to get kind of give it a dusty finish, just a suggestion of dry, dusty stuff around the edges. Not going to do too much. Just want just a little bit of a suggestion of dust. Really just around the bottom edges of the vehicle, just where the dust would gather when it's chucked up off the road. And probably more stippling than dry brushing at the moment. What I'm hoping for is a look like it's dusty as opposed to mud spattered. Just a subtle effect around the edges. In a lot of cases, one of the downsides of dry brushing, it does give quite often a sort of grainy effect. Which sometimes you don't want. It can make things look dusty and gritty. But as luck would have it, that's just the effect that I want. Something also that I do when I'm doing tyres is get a really watered down version of your dusty paint. Just run it into the treads on the tyres. What that will do is, when it's dried, it will just gather in the cleats on the tyres and the treads and look like dust that's been trapped in the tyre treads. Take the details on these cars as far as you want, as much detail or as little detail as you fancy. But so there you have it. I think that's pretty much done now. Just let that dry and then hopefully it should look half decent. So there you go, I'm going to call this done. One Mad Max inspired cow car. Yeah, I'm happy with that. It's looking suitably weird. I like the effect of the aluminium foil as cowhide. Yeah, I mean, it's not going to set the world alight. It's nothing particularly special, but I'm pleased. It came out pretty much how I'd liked it, how I wanted it to. So there you go. Done. I'm calling that one done. Great. So if you like it, let us know. If there's anything you think I could have done differently or better, let me know. If there's anything you'd like to see me do, let me know. I am thinking of doing a Mad Max Interceptor type car as a conversion in the not too distant future. Let us know if you fancy seeing that. Other than that, thanks for watching, and yeah, I'll see you again next time. Take care, everybody.